This is Expert Advantage, a behind the scenes look at how JD Power experts help clients turn actionable market intelligence into strategic advantage. I'm your host, Michael Vermillion with JD Power, and today I'm joined by Jennifer White, Managing Director in our Banking and Payments practice. Jennifer, welcome. Thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having me for a chat.
Terrific. So let's just dive right in. What's keeping leaders in this industry up at night right now?
I think the biggest challenge at the moment is that customer loyalty, it hasn't disappeared, but it's becoming notably more fragile over time. And consumers are fragmenting their banking relationships. And banking, by that I mean, is pretty wide, but they're fragmenting. They're opening more secondary accounts than they've ever had before. Money is moving more freely than it ever has before. And you can have high customer satisfaction and still be losing deposits in this space.
Terrific. Thanks. It's a great place to start. So Jennifer, 30 years of experience with market intelligence, 14 years with JD Power. So you're bringing a lot of experience, a lot of expertise to the table. So, if you sat in on 100 leadership conversations about this topic this year, what would be that one blind spot that just keeps showing up?
So much of banking for so many years has been defined by primacy. Who is the primary relationship? Am I the center of the consumer's banking universe? And the challenge is that universe is changing. And I just mentioned it's spreading widely. And we used to define it in terms of, do I have the most of those consumers' deposits? Am I set up as their direct deposit partner? We defined it in very traditional ways that talked about, let's stack up dollars and dimes and figure out how much money is behind it. And today, because so much money is moving, primacy is really defined by whether or not you're the institution at the center of that money movement. And that's a very different way of doing business and thinking about business growth for the industry that we serve here at JD Power.
Okay, so just getting to the root cause, why does that blind gap exist? What are most companies missing about the dynamics underneath?
Well, one of the challenges is we don't have open banking. So you can only see what your customer is doing within your own technological walls. And so you don't know what might be happening outside of those walls, which makes understanding the competitive threat really hard to do, particularly without having intelligence like what JD Power offers. And so the challenge becomes that when customers start opening up accounts for very specific needs, for example, we know that one of the things that drives customers to open up secondary accounts, particularly in Gen Z, is because they need to isolate everyday spending from how they think about saving their money. They can't keep it all in one account the way that those of us with gray hair are used to doing over time. And so that's a completely different need that is outside of the realm of how we've built the account structures and how we service those accounts.
All right, terrific. So I want to kind of double click on this notion of connecting back to JD Power's data, and I think you started going down that path a little bit. But yeah, if a CEO or a business line leader had the right data in front of them, what would they do differently tomorrow morning?
Well, I think they'd start relying a lot less on feature and function parity and more on enhancements to those features and functions in order to solve needs. They'd move beyond the idea of couching what they might coach a customer to do in compliance and risk terms, and think about how they can be a gentle hand on that customer's shoulder to guide them to improve their financial life. And that financial life might involve accounts that aren't within their walls, but it's a big picture view that is around helping customers just be stronger financially.
So just based on the work that you've done, I want to kind of bring this to life with a real client or subscriber story, right? So do you have a time or an example perhaps where When the team actually had the right data, the right market intelligence in front of them, they were able to change course or actually even flip a decision.
Oh, well, the good news is there's a lot of those examples,
Okay.
which is why one should work with JD Power.
Okay.
I think one of the most recent real world applications of recommendations that we've made to the industry that really just came alive is within our financial protection satisfaction study. And that is really around measuring the degree to which customers are satisfied that their accounts are secure, and that if a bad actor intervenes, is the fraud resolution process palatable? How can you leave that bad experience with higher customer satisfaction than you might have even entered it with? In that instance, it was very clear that institutions that were investing in building digital solutions that took all of the different types of information that banks put together around security and bundled them into security centers and made those security centers a landing page within the digital experience that then could guide customers, maybe even in a gamified way, guide customers through a series of steps. The action of guiding customers in that way, whether you are, doing it in person or that technological push of now go take a look and make sure that your mobile app is the most recent version. Are you set up with two-factor authentication? Have you reviewed who you've shared your data with? Those types of things on a checklist in a gamified way has a significant impact, not only on customer satisfaction with protecting that account, but has a significant impact on loyalty in the end. Because a customer feels more secure, they're less likely to look elsewhere. And as we talk about all this money movement, anytime money moves, it's an opportunity to reassess that primacy. Who is your primary partner? Who is at the center of that money movement? And those security centers it seems like just a small idea that has outweighed impact on trust in the end.
Hmm. That's a great example. Jennifer, we also want to double click a bit on your role and the work that you do with our subscribers and our clients. So, when you're sitting across from a client as our industry expert, what dots are you able to connect for them that data leaves disconnected?
There's a couple ways I think that happens. First and foremost, we are all inundated with so much information
Mm,
that what is necessary sometimes is to have a voice that helps connect A to B to C, which and by using A, B, and C, it makes them sound like they're interconnected, but it could be three completely different topics
hmm
that need connective tissue between them. And so I think when you bring in an outside voice to help talk about that connective tissue, that's when you can start to decide whether ROI is more than a number and can have an impact on strategy, an impact on customer emotions, just more than the bottom line.
Okay, so let's pull on that ROI thread a bit. So, when all of this is done well, and we've got a good understanding of what are the what's the big challenge, what are the misconceptions, what's the root cause of that, how do we connect the dots back to our data, bringing you in to help connect those dots to what really kind of needs to happen. What's the what are the outcomes just in terms of retention, share, NPS, revenue? You mentioned strategic change. What's the ROI story here?
Well, in the end, the biggest change isn't satisfaction. For every institution, we focus on share of wallet. So we started at the top of this conversation talking about primacy and whether or not those dollar bills stack up to be the most deposits that are out there. So the challenge becomes that it's, how are you as an organization positioned to continue to be top of mind as the reason why a customer might leave the bulk of their deposits with you? It's no longer going to be that they're likely to leave all of their deposits with you, but how do you stay at the center of that money movement? And so ultimately, in the end, you might see less money moving out. You might see less transfers happening.
Hmm.
You could see consolidation of balances. particularly those institutions that have decided to not make you open up multiple accounts for different reasons and maybe give you buckets underneath, or for example. You see stronger long-term growth in the end. I think what's key here also is, are you in our specific industry, are you capturing the hearts and minds of the Gen Z customer that are opening those first new accounts? And the degree to which you're getting net new account openings among that population. Because, it used to be just that, 20 something might open up the account that mom and dad told them to. There's a whole lot of more influences, including AI, directing that choice now than there was before.
So Jennifer, you've been at this for a while. Clearly, you're passionate about the subject matter, the work that we do here at JD Power, the work that you're doing, with our subscribers and clients. What's the driving force behind that? Like, why do you like this so much?
I believe in the golden rule.
Okay.
So do unto others as you do unto yourself. And I think that there is a role for JD Power as an advocate for the consumer to be whispering that into the ears of CEOs across all the industries that we serve. And I think if we're going to talk about how to make customers' lives easier, and again, that could be any industry, but that's what we're focused on, is how can we just make things just a little easier to manage day to day, and being the voice in the ear that reminds a CEO. I feel silly when it happens, but sometimes I stand in front of a room and I say, it matters that hello is said at the door. And that hello, it matters because even your person who's working with them gets a higher score for promptness and courtesy just because somebody said hello at the door. And I feel ridiculous every time I do it because it seems so simple, but yet it's the message that sometimes that CEO needs to hear, to be reminded that relationship requires emotive connection. And I'm proud to be an advocate for the consumers in that moment.
Terrific. Well, so just to wrap us up, look, leaders are busy. If you had 30 seconds with one of them right now, I don't know if it's the elevator pitch or whatever, the cab ride, the Uber ride to the airport, right? What would you tell them to either start, stop, or change?
The winners here are not going to be the institutions that have the most digital features or have the nifty redesigned branches. They're going to be the institutions that make connections with the customers, that demonstrate that they know the customers. To do that requires making sure that your data systems internally can speak to each other so that personalization is real. It isn't just a buzzword. And failure to personalize in this moment means failure to make connection. And that puts you at great risk.
Jennifer, that was really good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And we want to thank our viewers and listeners as well for joining us on Expert Advantage. If you're looking to turn actionable market intelligence into strategic advantage, JD Power's experts are here to help. I'm Michael Vermillion, and we'll see you next time.